Malaysia used to be one of the Asian tigers, but the 1997 Asian financial crisis derailed its economic growth. It has 32 million of population. There are three major races, which are Bumiputera, 70.4%, Chinese, 22.4%, and Indian, 6.5%.
Bendera berkibar di angkasa, lambang negara gagah.
In 1991, Malaysia's fourth Prime Minister, Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, introduced Wawasan 2020 or Vision 2020 was a national development plan. It outlined Malaysia's ambition to become a fully developed and high-income nation by the year 2020. The vision aimed to transform Malaysia into an advanced industrialized country in terms of economic development, technological advancement, and societal progress. However, till 2024, this goal is not yet achieved. The nation faces challenges like high living cost, middle income traps, loss of talents, highly rely on subsidy from government. In politics, political parties are often ethnically aligned, perpetuating divisions and challenges in achieving national unity. Scandals like 1MDB have eroded public trust in institutions. Ensuring transparency, accountability, and good governance remains a critical challenge for political stability and international reputation. Malaysian politics has seen frequent leadership changes and coalition instability. The fall of the Pakatan Harapan government in 2020 and subsequent realignments highlight the fragility of political coalitions. This time, we would like to bring you about the history, politics landscape developed in Malaysia, and how the current situation makes Malaysia in dilemma. Malaysia's political landscape is a complex tapestry woven with history, ideology, and the dynamics of a multi-ethnic society. Its political journey began with the formation of the United Malays National Organization, UMNO, in 1946, which emerged to oppose the British proposed Malayan Union that threatened Malay sovereignty. UMNO played a crucial role in leading the country to independence in 1957 under the Alliance Party, later expanded into the Barisan Nasional (BN) coalition. UMNO and its coalition, Barisan Nasional, is deeply intertwined with Malaysia's journey from a British colony to a modern, independent nation. UMNO was established in 1946 to oppose the British proposed Malayan Union, which threatened the sovereignty of Malay rulers and undermined special privileges for Malays. Under Dato' Onn Jaafar, UMNO championed Malay nationalism, which was pivotal in rallying opposition to the Malayan Union. This success led to the establishment of the Federation of Malaya in 1948. Realizing the need for inter-ethnic cooperation in a multi-ethnic society, UMNO partnered with the Malaysian Chinese Association, MCA, and the Malaysian Indian Congress, MIC, to form the Alliance Party in the 1950s. This coalition became the precursor to Barisan Nasional, emphasizing power sharing among the three major ethnic groups, Malays, Chinese, and Indians.
Home rule for Malaya is discussed in London between Federation leaders and the British government. Tengku Abdul Rahman, Chief Minister of the Federation, heads the Malayan delegation, while Britain's spokesman is Colonial Secretary Lennox Boyd. Britain favours Malayan self-government. Malayans are eager for it. The question is, how? Abdul Rahman believes his people are ready. He tells the conference,
"My people have asked that Malaya be given independence, if possible, during 1957. We believe that the people of the Federation are entirely capable, through us, of running their country happily and efficiently."
Tunku Abdul Rahman, UMNO's leader, became the face of Malayan independence. Negotiations with the British, supported by the Alliance Party, led to the peaceful independence of the Federation of Malaya on August 31, 1957. The alliance's power-sharing formula set the foundation for post-independence governance.
Naik ke pentas utama, orang ramai berebut untuk bersalaman dan ucapkannya kepada Tunku. Mereka begitu bersemangat untuk menantikan detik turunnya Union Jack dan kali pertama bendera.
UMNO played a key role in forming Malaysia, which included Malaya, Sabah, Sarawak, and Singapore. The latter left in 1965. This expanded vision reflected UMNO's ambition to unify various regions under a single nation-state. The 1969 general election saw significant losses for the Alliance Party, exacerbating racial tensions and culminating in the May 13, 1969 riots. In response, UMNO-led leaders, under Tun Abdul Razak, implemented the New Economic Policy, NEP, in 1971, aimed at reducing poverty and restructuring society to reduce ethnic disparities. The alliance was restructured into Barisan Nasional, BN, in 1974, expanding to include more parties from across Malaysia. This strengthened its dominance. In 1997, the Asian financial crisis severely impacted Malaysia's economy. Anwar, as finance minister, advocated for International Monetary Fund, IMF, style reforms, including fiscal austerity, higher interest rates, and cutting government spending. These measures clashed with Mahathir's approach, which involved pegging the Malaysian ringgit to the US dollar, capital controls, and maintaining government spending to stimulate the economy. Mahathir saw Anwar's policies as undermining national sovereignty and harmful to the economy. Their disagreement escalated into a public rift. By the late 1990s, Anwar was seen as a rising political star and Mahathir's likely successor. Anwar's popularity, especially among the younger generation, posed a challenge to Mahathir's authority. Some within Mahathir's camp viewed Anwar as attempting to hasten his path to the premiership by sidelining Mahathir. In 1998, Anwar was accused of corruption and sodomy, the latter a criminal offense in Malaysia. Mahathir justified Anwar's dismissal by alleging moral misconduct and abuse of power. Anwar denied the accusations, claiming they were fabricated as part of a political conspiracy to eliminate him as a threat. The accusations led to Anwar's arrest, physical assault while in custody, and a highly publicized trial. The judicial process was widely criticized for lack of transparency and fairness. Anwar's dismissal and imprisonment sparked widespread protests and gave birth to the Reformasi movement. This movement demanded justice for Anwar, an end to corruption, greater democracy and accountability in Malaysia. The Parti Keadilan Nasional, later Parti Keadilan Rakyat, or PKR, was formed by Anwar's supporters, including his wife, Dr. Wan Aziza Wan Ismail, to challenge Mahathir's government. The Reformasi movement galvanized the opposition, paving the way for significant political shifts in the decades that followed. In 1999, Barisan Alternatif are formed among PAS, DAP, Malaysian People's Party and the newly formed PKR. However, ideological differences, for example PAS's Islamic State agenda, caused DAP to leave the coalition in 2001.
Agar kekayaan minyak ekonomi negara diagihkan dengan adil kepada semua Melayu, Cina, India, Iban, kadang-kadang semua rakyat.
In 2008, the general election held on March 8 was a watershed moment in the country's political history. It marked the most significant political shift since independence in 1957, with the ruling coalition, Barisan Nasional, BN, suffering unprecedented losses. Simultaneously, the opposition parties united under the banner of the Pakatan Rakyat, PR, coalition made historic gains, including seizing control of 5 state governments. BN, which had historically dominated Malaysian politics, suffered its worst performance ever. BN won 140 out of 222 parliamentary seats, losing its traditional two-thirds majority required to pass constitutional amendments. PR captured 82 parliamentary seats, more than doubling its previous representation. The 5 states won by opposition, which are Penang, Selangor, Perak, Kedah and Kelantan. In Penang, the opposition coalition led by DAP won a landslide victory, capturing 29 of 40 state assembly seats. Lim Guan Eng of DAP became the chief minister, ending BN's decades-long rule in the state. In Selangor, PR seized control of Malaysia's most industrialized state, winning 44 out of 56 state seats. Khalid Ibrahim of PKR became the chief minister. BN's loss of its two-thirds parliamentary majority was a significant blow to its dominance. Component parties like the Malaysian Chinese Association, Malaysian Indian Congress, and Gerakan were decimated, reflecting discontent among non-Malay voters. Prime Minister Abdullah Ahmad Badawi faced internal and external criticism, leading to his resignation in 2009. In April 3, 2009, Najib was sworn in as Prime Minister of Malaysia, become the 6th Prime Minister in Malaysia. The 13th general election, held on May 5, 2013, was one of the most hotly contested elections in Malaysia's history. Same as previous general election, the two main alliances are Barisan Nasional, ruling coalition led by Najib Razak, and Pakatan Rakyat, the opposition coalition led by Anwar Ibrahim. Barisan Nasional won 133 seats in the Dewan Rakyat but lost the popular vote for the first time, securing only 47.38%, PR 150, 87% of the popular vote but only managed 89 seats due to Malaysia's first-past-the-post (FPTP) system and accusations of gerrymandering. This election exposed the deep urban-rural divide in Malaysian politics. Allegations of electoral fraud, including phantom voters and the manipulation of electoral boundaries, led to protests under the Bersih movement, demanding electoral reform. Pakatan Rakyat retained control of key states, continuing its momentum from the 2008 political tsunami. Penang still dominated by the DAP, and remained a stronghold for Pakatan Rakyat, emphasizing good governance and economic development under Chief Minister Lim Guan Eng. In Selangor, Pakatan Rakyat won convincingly in Selangor, Malaysia's most developed state, with a strong multi-ethnic coalition and governance led by PKR. In Kelantan, long governed by PAS, Kelantan remained under the party's Islamic leadership, with significant grassroots support. In 2015, Pakatan Harapan, PH, replaced Pakatan Rakyat after PAS left due to disagreements with DAP and PKR. PH included PKR, DAP, Amanah, a PAS splinter group. In November 2016, Parti Pribumi Bersatu Malaysia, Bersatu, led by Mahathir Mohamad, joined PH. There is another important political event happened in 2015, which is Anwar Ibrahim's second imprisonment. After Anwar Ibrahim's political comeback and leadership of the opposition, Anwar faced new sodomy charges in 2008 under Prime Minister Najib Razak's government. He denied the accusations, claiming they were politically motivated to suppress the opposition. In 2015, Malaysia's federal court upheld Anwar's conviction, sentencing him to 5 years in prison. International human rights groups condemned the conviction, viewing it as an abuse of the legal system to silence Anwar. Following the 2018 general election, Anwar's coalition, Pakatan Harapan, won power. Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad, who had rejoined forces with Anwar, sought his release. Anwar received a royal pardon from the King of Malaysia in May 2018 and was released from prison.
The most significant lesson one can learn from prison life is the value of freedom. When you are incarcerated, you realize what is the meaning and significance of freedom. No one, it's not Anwar or Achong or Murugam, anyone must not be allowed to undergo the same travesty.
The 14th general election, held on May 9, 2018, Barisan Nasional still led by Najib Razak but plagued by scandals, particularly the 1MDB corruption scandal. Pakatan Harapan, rebranded opposition coalition led by former PM Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, now allied with his once nemesis Anwar Ibrahim. Pakatan Harapan achieved a historic victory, winning 113 seats, surpassing the majority threshold of 112. Dr. Mahathir became prime minister again at the age of 92, making him the world's oldest head of government. Barisan Nasional suffered its worst defeat in history, reduced to 79 seats, losing power after ruling for over 60 years since independence. This election was seen as a Malaysian tsunami, with widespread dissatisfaction over corruption, rising living costs, and Najib's administration. It marked the first democratic transition of power in Malaysia's history. Pakatan Harapan made history by defeating BN, ending its 60-year rule. Anwar Ibrahim and Mahathir Mohamad's unlikely partnership was pivotal in this victory. The Sheraton Move refers to a pivotal political event in Malaysia in February 2020 that led to the collapse of the Pakatan Harapan government. This episode is named after the Sheraton Hotel in Petaling Jaya, where a key meeting took place among political leaders and MPs to realign allegiances and form a new coalition. Pakatan Harapan faced challenges due to differences in ideology and policies, particularly between the more conservative Bersatu and the progressive DAP and PKR. Disagreements over Mahathir's timeline for the transition of power to Anwar fueled speculation and anxiety within the coalition. Furthermore, the clash between Anwar and Azman's factions in PKR caused some important members from Team Azman to leave PKR. Discontented factions within PH, led by Mohiuddin Yassin and Azman Ali, conspired to form a new coalition. Their plan was to oust the PH government by creating an alliance with UMNO, PAS, and other parties, excluding DAP and Amanah. On February 23, 2020, political leaders and MPs from Bersatu, UMNO, PAS, and others convened at the Sheraton Hotel to finalize the move. This meeting symbolized the betrayal of PH and effectively ended the coalition's rule. On February 24, 2020, Dr. Mahathir resigned as Prime Minister, refusing to align with UMNO and PAS. His resignation caused the collapse of the PH government. Muhyiddin Yassin was sworn in as the 8th Prime Minister on March 1, 2020, leading the new coalition named Perikatan Nasional, which included Bersatu, UMNO, PAS, and other minor parties. This government was seen as lacking a direct electoral mandate and was often criticized as a backdoor government. Mahathir expressed regret and dismay, claiming he had been betrayed by Muhyiddin. Anwar Ibrahim, whose hopes of becoming PM were dashed, remained in opposition with PKR, DAP, and Amana. PH's supporters viewed the Sheraton Move as a betrayal of voters' mandate in General Election 14. By mid-2021, cracks appeared in the coalition, particularly between UMNO and Bersatu. Several UMNO MPs, led by party president Ahmad Zahid Hamidi and former Prime Minister Najib Razak, withdrew their support for Muhyiddin. Without UMNO's full backing, Muhyiddin lost his parliamentary majority. UMNO, unhappy with playing a secondary role under Muhyiddin's leadership, demanded more influence in the government. Muhyiddin tried to stay in power by proposing cross-party cooperation and reforms, but the opposition rejected his offers. Despite the new government was formed, Perikatan Nasional faced a precarious majority in parliament, leading to frequent calls for a vote of no confidence. Political infighting within Perikatan Nasional and the resurgence of UMNO's influence further destabilized the coalition. On August 16, 2021, Muhyiddin Yassin resigned as Prime Minister after acknowledging that he no longer had majority support in parliament. He remained as a caretaker Prime Minister until a new leader was appointed. Following Muhyiddin's resignation, the king asked all MPs to submit their choice of Prime Minister to determine who commanded majority support. UMNO, being the largest party in the Perikatan Nasional coalition, nominated Ismail Sabri Yaakob, who was then the Deputy Prime Minister under Muhyiddin. On August 21, 2021, the king appointed Ismail Sabri Yaakob as Malaysia's 9th Prime Minister, marking UMNO's return to power after its defeat in the 2018 general election. The king urged politicians to avoid further instability, and Ismail Sabri emerged as a compromise candidate acceptable to both UMNO and PN factions. To ensure political stability, Ismail Sabri signed a memorandum of understanding with the opposition Pakatan Harapan coalition, promising reforms and cooperation until parliament's dissolution. The 15th general election, held on November 19, 2022. There are three main alliances this time, include Pakatan Harapan now led by Anwar Ibrahim, Perikatan Nasional led by Muhyiddin Yassin and Barisan Nasional, struggling to recover its influence under Ahmad Zahid Hamidi. Pakatan Harapan emerged as the largest bloc with 82 seats, but fell short of a majority. Perikatan Nasional led by Muhyiddin gained significant ground with 73 seats, driven by support from Malay Muslim voters. Barisan Nasional's influence continued to wane, winning only 30 seats, marking its weakest performance. A hung parliament ensued, as no coalition had the necessary majority. After negotiations, Anwar Ibrahim was appointed as Prime Minister, leading a unity government that included PH, BN, and other regional parties like Gabungan Party Sarawak, GPS, and Gabungan Rakyat Sabah, GRS. This election underscored Malaysia's ethnic and political polarization, with Perikatan Nasional capturing significant support from rural Malay voters, while PH dominated urban areas. Anwar's rise as Prime Minister marked the culmination of a decades-long struggle, emphasizing reform, inclusivity, and anti-corruption. These three elections reflect Malaysia's transition from a dominant party system under Barisan Nasional to a more competitive, albeit fragmented, political landscape. The 2018 election was a turning point for democracy, while 2022 highlighted the challenges of coalition politics and ethnic religious dynamics. The trajectory of these elections demonstrates Malaysians' growing demand for accountability, transparency, and meaningful reform. In 2024, the political landscape does not turn better. Different parties and alliances working towards to gain more supports from the Malay voters. Although unity governments stabilize and give confidence to foreign investors at the moment, but the reformation in politics and policies does not go to the expected direction. Leaders from PAS, Bersatu, and UMNO still playing racial and religious card to gain attention and support from the Malay voters. In the unity government and the states controlled by PAS, more and more conservative policies implemented and incident happened are likely to gain support from the Malay voters. Pakatan Harapan earned high support from the non-Muslim voters in Malay from the urban area since 2008. After joined unity government, many of their promised are not being delivered. Due to rise of Green Wave, they seem like avoid discussing the needs from the non-Muslim communities. For instance, the government's plan to expand the Islamic Development Department, JACM, has been viewed by some as potentially leading to increased Islamization and might affect the decision-making in all ministries. The allocation amount to Chinese schools is not specified in the government budget. The alcohol's drinks are prohibited to sell in Chinese school. This is heavily affecting the fundraising events and income from the wedding ceremony, which all the while are allowed in the school compounds. Additionally, there have been instances where non-Muslim rights were perceived to be infringed upon. For example, the Terengganu state government's ban on female singers at a temple jubilee celebration was criticized as an infringement on non-Muslims' constitutional rights. UMNO youth chief Muhammad Akmal Saleh have been playing racial and religion issue although in the unity government. His presentation is especially highlighted in KK Mart issue. In March 2024, KK Supermart, a prominent Malaysian convenience store chain, faced significant backlash after socks bearing the word Allah were found on sale in several of its outlets. The presence of such items was deemed offensive by many in the Muslim community, as placing the sacred name on items worn on the feet is considered disrespectful. The controversy led to a nationwide boycott campaign against KK Supermart, spearheaded by various groups, including UMNO Youth. The boycott was further intensified by incidents of vandalism, with at least 3 KK Supermart outlets being targeted with petrol bombs in locations such as Bidar, Kuantan, and Kuching. The parties in Perikatan Nasional are Bersatu, PAS and Gerakan. Gerakan has no win any parliamentary seat, therefore they are being marginalized in the coalition, as the majority supporters in this coalition is Malay voters. PAS especially always raise religious and racial issue. More and more Islamization policies are being implemented in the states that they controlled, which are Kelantan, Terengganu, Kedah and Perlis. For example, Kedah government banned lotteries operation. However, Alor Setter High Court's ruling on June 20, 2024, the state government's decision to refuse lottery outlets license renewals is illegal and must be revoked. In October 2023, the PAS-led state government of Terengganu implemented a policy prohibiting Muslim female gymnasts from participating in the 2024 Sukma Games, citing concerns over the form-fitting nature of gymnastics attire, which they deemed inconsistent with Islamic dress codes. This decision led several Muslim female gymnasts from Terengganu to retire from the sport altogether, as they faced the dilemma of either compromising their athletic careers or adhering to the state's dress code regulations. In October 2024, Teluk Intan, Perak, became the center of a controversy when participants at the International Guangdong Cultural Festival were seen waving China's national flag near the Leaning Tower of Teluk Intan. Past leaders exaggerate this incident become a sensitive issue and claim this is inappropriate and potentially disrespectful to Malaysian sovereignty. UMNO youth chief Akmal dismissed the organizers' apology and called for legal action against them, emphasizing that mere apologies were insufficient. However, the police investigated and confirmed that the flag waving was conducted by Chinese nationals attending the festival. There are also Malaysia flags presented in the parade, but past leaders did not highlight it. Perak Menteri Besar Datuk Seri Sarani Mohamad addressed the situation by stating that foreign tourists waving their national flag during a cultural festival did not constitute an offense. He urged the public to remain calm and avoid escalating the issue, emphasizing the importance of maintaining harmony and understanding in Malaysia's multicultural society. Over the past 2 years, Malaysia has implemented stricter regulations governing concerts and live performances, particularly those involving international artists. These measures aim to align public events with the nation's cultural and religious values. In March 2023, the Central Agency for Application for Filming and Performance by Foreign Artists, PUSPL, introduced revised guidelines for concerts and live shows, effective from 2024. Key provisions include: dress code. Male foreign artists are prohibited from cross-dressing or dressing in attire traditionally associated with women during performances. Additionally, both male and female performers are not allowed to remove any clothing during their shows. Blackout dates. Large-scale concerts by foreign artists are forbidden on the eve and actual dates of Islamic religious holidays and other significant religious events. Previously, performances were restricted during the entire Independence Month from August 25 to September 16. However, the updated guidelines have narrowed these blackout periods to August 30 to 31 and September 15 to 16, corresponding to National Day and Malaysia Day celebrations. Kill switch requirement. Concert organizers are now required to have a kill switch to end performances that breach the government's guidelines. Enforcement and legal actions. The enforcement of these guidelines has been underscored by recent incidents. In July 2023, during the Good Vibes Festival in Kuala Lumpur, Matty Healy, frontman of the British band the 1975 criticized Malaysia's anti-LGBTQ+ laws and kissed a male bandmate on stage. These actions led to the immediate cancellation of the festival and a subsequent $2.4 million lawsuit against the band by the organizers for breach of contract. These developments reflect Malaysia's commitment to regulating public performances in a manner consistent with its cultural norms and legal frameworks. However, this also reduced the passion of foreign artists to perform in Malaysia, especially restriction on the dressing attire and the kill switch requirements. In September 2023, the Kuala Lumpur High Court granted Deputy Prime Minister Ahmad Zahid Hamidi a discharge, not amounting to an acquittal, DNAA, for all 47 charges related to the Yayasan Akal Budi case. These charges encompassed criminal breach of trust, money laundering, and bribery involving millions of ringgit. The Attorney General's Chambers, AGC, requested the DNAA, citing the need for further investigations. This decision sparked significant public outcry and raised concerns about the independence of Malaysia's judicial system. Critics, including the Malaysian bar, questioned the AGC's rationale and sought judicial review to challenge the DNAA. However, in June 2024, the High Court dismissed the Malaysian bar's application, upholding the AGC's decision. In February 2024, Malaysia's Pardons Board, chaired by the then young Di-Pertuan Agong Sultan Abdullah, granted former Prime Minister Najib Razak a partial royal pardon. This decision reduced Najib's original 12-year prison sentence for corruption to 6 years and lowered his fine from 210 million ringgit to 50 million ringgit. Consequently, Najib's expected release date was adjusted to August 2028. Following the pardon, Najib sought to serve the remainder of his sentence under house arrest, citing an alleged addendum order issued by the former king. Initially, the High Court dismissed his application for judicial review regarding this order in July 2024. However, in January 2025, the Court of Appeal granted Najib permission to pursue the judicial review after a letter from the Pahang Palace confirmed the existence of the royal addendum. The case has been remitted to the High Court for further consideration. The government's response to these developments has been cautious. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim has refrained from commenting on the matter, citing parliamentary rules that prevent discussion of ongoing judicial proceedings. Additionally, the Attorney General's Chambers has sought a gag order to prevent public discussion about Najib's judicial review claim concerning the royal addendum. These events have sparked public debate over perceived preferential treatment and the transparency of the legal process in high-profile cases. In December 2024, the appointment of Tun Musa Aman as the 11th Yang Di-Pertuan Negeri, governor of Sabah ignited significant public controversy. Musa Aman, who served as Sabah's chief minister from 2003 to 2018, had previously faced 46 charges of corruption and money laundering related to timber concessions. These charges were unexpectedly dropped in June 2020, leading to his acquittal, a decision that had already raised public concern. The announcement of his gubernatorial appointment intensified debates about the integrity of political processes and the message it conveyed regarding accountability. Critics argued that appointing an individual with such a contentious history to a ceremonial role meant to embody the state's dignity was inappropriate. Public figures, including graphic artist Fahmi Reza, expressed their dissent. Fahmi was subsequently investigated by Sabah police for his depiction of Musa as a corrupt leader. In response to the backlash, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim clarified that the appointment was made by the Yang Di-Pertuan Agong, King of Malaysia, after consultation with the Chief Minister, as stipulated by the Sabah State Constitution. He emphasized that the decision was beyond his jurisdiction and urged respect for the constitutional process. Supporters of Musa's appointment highlighted his extensive experience and contributions to Sabah's development. Datuk Seri Yahya Hussein, a former deputy chief minister under Musa's administration, called for an end to the slander campaign against him, asserting that Musa is the most suitable and qualified candidate for the role. Despite these endorsements, the controversy underscored deep-seated concerns about governance and the ethical standards of public office appointments in Malaysia. The situation highlighted the ongoing tension between legal processes and public perception, especially when past allegations of corruption are involved. As of January 2025, Sabah's political landscape remains dynamic and complex, characterized by shifting alliances, leadership disputes, and ongoing governance challenges. In January 2023, Sabah experienced a significant political upheaval when Barisan Nasional, led by UMNO's Datuk Seri Bung Mokhtar Raden, withdrew its support from Chief Minister Datuk Seri Hajiji Noor's administration. This move led to a brief political crisis, culminating in a cabinet reshuffle where Bung Mokhtar was removed from his deputy chief minister position. The crisis highlighted the state's political fluidity and the fragility of its governing coalitions. The state assembly comprises 79 seats, including 73 regular constituencies and 6 nominated seats. The upcoming state election, expected to be held by December 2025, is anticipated to be a pivotal event that will shape Sabah's governance. Key issues likely to influence the election include economic development disparities, infrastructure challenges, and debates surrounding the Malaysia Agreement 1963, MA 63, which addresses Sabah's rights and autonomy within Malaysia. In late 2024, the state government faced a corruption scandal involving allegations of bribery among high-ranking officials, including Chief Minister Hajiji Noor, while Hajiji denied any involvement, asserting he had nothing to hide. The scandal underscored ongoing concerns about governance and integrity within Sabah's political sphere. In summary, Sabah's political landscape as of early 2025 is marked by leadership disputes, upcoming electoral contests, corruption allegations, and intricate ethnic and territorial dynamics. These factors collectively contribute to a fluid and often unpredictable political environment. Sarawak's political landscape is characterized by a stable governance structure, ongoing negotiations for greater autonomy, and strategic economic initiatives. The state is governed by Gabungan Party Sarawak, GPS, a coalition that has maintained a stronghold in Sarawakian politics. In the 2021 state elections, GPS secured a significant majority, winning 80 out of 82 seats in the state legislative assembly. This dominance has contributed to a stable political environment, which leaders assert enhances investor confidence and economic development. Sarawak continues to advocate for greater autonomy, particularly in managing its natural resources. In a notable development, Petroleum Sarawak Berhad, Petros, has assumed control over the state's natural gas distribution. Despite this shift, Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim has affirmed that Petronas, the national oil and gas company, retains its overarching authority as outlined in the Petroleum Development Act 1974. This arrangement aims to balance state interests with national policies, ensuring that existing agreements with international partners remain unaffected. In summary, Sarawak's political landscape in early 2025 is marked by stable governance under GPS, proactive efforts to enhance state autonomy, strategic initiatives to protect its resources, and a commitment to inclusive representation of its diverse population. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, who assumed office in November 2022, continues to lead the nation with a focus on economic growth and political stability. His administration has been proactive in strengthening ties with neighboring countries, notably through the establishment of the Johor-Singapore Special Economic Zone, JSSEZ, aiming to bolster economic integration and attract investments in advanced sectors such as artificial intelligence and green energy. However, the political reforms are still delayed. The racial and religion issues are still being raised by certain politicians. The Sabah's corruption scandal, DNA of Zahid Hamidi, and pardon of Najib sparked hot discussion among the people. We see this as a long-time dilemma in Malaysia, and who else can resolve this in the future?